The Lord excavated from South India two very important old literatures, namely the Brahma Samhita and Krishna Karnamrita. And these two valuable books are authorized studies for the person in the devotional line. Brahma Samhita is a very ancient scripture. This is part of the Pancharatrik category of Vedic literatures. And the Brahma Samhita is a summary of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It teaches, uh, it puts in a nutshell all of the teachings of the Srimad Bhagavatam within a very short compass of 30 or 40 shlokas. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually retrieved the fifth chapter of Brahma Samhita, which contained Lord Brahma's description, his description in Samadhi of Lord Krishna's position. And that is very, very important. This fifth chapter of the Brahma Samhita has been um, printed by the BBT under Srila Prabhupada's express instructions, because this Brahma Samhita was actually commented by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's English might appear to be a little difficult, but nevertheless, Prabhupada instructed that this Brahma Samhita should be studied. Here you notice a translation. Um, when you get time, you can try to go through this. You see this whole series of I worship Govinda, I worship the primeval Lord Govinda. These are all prayers by Lord Brahma. And then there are a few instructions by the Supreme Lord to Lord Brahma. Recorded, everything is recorded here. A very, very important book, the fifth chapter of Brahma Samhita. And Krishna Karnamrita. Krishna Karnamrita is a book by Sri Bilvamangal Thakur. Srila Prabhupada writes about Srila Bilvamangal Thakur in his commentary to Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila chapter 1, text 57, which is a quote from Srila Bilvamangal, where he is offering his obeisances unto his spiritual masters. Prabhupada writes, this verse is from the Krishna Karnamrita, which is written by a great Vaishnava sannyasi named Bilvamangal Thakur, who is also known as Leela Shuka. He intensely desired to enter into the eternal pastimes of the Lord, and he lived at Vrindavan for 700 years in the vicinity of Brahma Kunda, a still existing bathing tank in Vrindavan. I wanted to quickly show you how Brahmakund looks like. Here's a quick search I did from Google Images. It was like this before Brahmakund, but right now it's been restored to this. See, it looks beautiful. There are Vaishnavas who are trying to restore, so they've constructed it like this. This is in Vrindavan. When you go to Vrindavan, you can have a look. You can offer respects to Lord Brahma at Brahmakund. So, Acharya Billamangal, he lived there. The history of Billamangal Thakur is given in a book called Sri Vallabha Digvijay. He appeared in the 8th century of the Shaka era in the province of Dravida. The Shaka era is 78 years after the Christian era began. So 8th century of the Shaka era would mean that it is around, say, 778 AD, and was the chief disciple of Vishnu Swami. In a list of temples and monasteries kept in Shankaracharya's monastery in Dwaraka, Billamangal is mentioned as the founder of the Dwarakadhish temple there. He entrusted the service of his deity to Hari Brahmachari, a disciple of Vallabha Bhatta. Billamangal actually entered into the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna. He has recorded his transcendental experiences and appreciation in the book known as Krishna Karnamrita. The complete treatise Krishna Karnamrita is dedicated to the transcendental pastimes of Sri Krishna and Srimati Radharani. It is a book to be read and understood by the most elevated devotees of Sri Krishna. The point to note is that Krishna Karnamrita is not an ordinary book, nor is it. It is a book that talks about the glory of the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, but it is not actually containing a sequential description of the pastimes of Radha Krishna. Unless one has actual exclusive affection for Krishna, he will, if he goes through Krishna Karnamrita, he'll get bored due to his offenses, uh, and he will not even be able to appreciate its value. But both the Brahma Samhita and Krishna Karnamrita are very, very important books. Brahma Samhita is the most important book on philosophy. Here, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes the factual position of Brahma Samhita. Siddhanta Shastra Nahi Brahma Samhitar Sam Govinda Mahima Gyaner Parama Karan Alpakshare Kahe Siddhanta Apar Sakal Vaishnava Shastra Madhya Atisar. There is no scripture equal to the Brahma Samhita as far as the final spiritual conclusion is concerned. Indeed, that scripture is the supreme revelation of the glories of Lord Govinda, for it reveals the topmost knowledge about him. Since all conclusions are briefly presented in the Brahma Samhita, it is essential among all the Vaishnava literatures. The Brahma Samhita is a very important scripture, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu acquired the fifth chapter from the Adi Kesha. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu acquired the fifth chapter from the Adi Keshava temple. This is in South India and in the place known as Kerala right now. This is a very, very important book, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was greatly ecstatic and happy. Regarding Krishna Karnamrita, we notice Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela chapter 9. Once Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the bank of the Krishna Venvar river, where he visited many holy places and the temples of various gods. This river is a branch of the river Krishna. It is said that Thakur Billamangal resided on the banks of this river, which is also called the Veena, the Veni, the Sina, and the Bhima. Brahmana Samaj Sab Vaishnava Charit, Vaishnava Sakal Pade Krishna Karnamrit. The Brahman community there was composed of pure devotees. They regularly studied a book called Krishna Karnamrita, which was composed by Billamangal Thakur. This book was composed by Billamangal Thakur in 112 verses. There are 2 or 3 other books bearing the same name. There are also 2 commentaries on Billamangal's book. One commentary was written by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and the other by Chaitanya Das Goswami. Krishna Karnamrita Shuni Prabhur Ananda Hoilo Agraha Koriya Punthi Lekhaya Loilo. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased to hear the book Krishna Karnamrita, and with great eagerness he had it copied and took it with him. Karnamrita Samavastu Nahi Tribhu Vane Jaha Hoite Hoy Krishne Shuddha Prema Gyani. There is no comparison to the Krishna Karnamrita within the 3 worlds. By studying this book, one is elevated to the knowledge of pure devotional service to Krishna. Saundarya Madhurya Krishna Leelar Avadhi Say Jane Jai Karnamrita Pode Niravadhi. One who constantly reads the Krishna Karnamrita can fully understand the beauty and melodious taste of the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Brahma Samhita Krishna Karnamrita Dui Punthi Paya Maharatna Pray Paya Aila Sangelaya. The Brahma Samhita and Krishna Karnamrita were 2 books that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu considered to be most valuable jewels. Therefore, he took them with him on his return trip. So these are 2 very, very important books that the Lord had brought from South India. The Lord then returned to Puri after the South Indian tour. On his return to Puri, all the anxious devotees of the Lord got back their life, and the Lord remained there with continued pastimes of his transcendental realizations. The most important incident during that time was his granting audience to King Prataprudra. King Prataprudra was a great devotee of the Lord, and he considered himself to be one of the servants of the Lord entrusted with sweeping the temple. This submissive attitude of the king was very much appreciated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The king requested both Bhattacharya and Rai to arrange his meeting with the Lord. When, however, the Lord was petitioned by his 2 stalwart devotees, he flatly refused to grant the request, even though it was put forward by personal associates like Ramananda Rai and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. The Lord maintained that it is dangerous for a sannyasi to be in intimate touch with worldly money conscious men, and with women. The Lord was an ideal sannyasi. See, this is such an important point. Notice here, Ramananda Rai is requesting Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to simply allow King Prataprudra to take darshan of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Lord Chaitanya would not talk to King Prataprudra because he's a king. Uh, Kings, generally speaking, Kshatriyas are constantly in touch with women. They're also in touch with money. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to stay away from people who are addicted to money, um, to materialistic subject matters, and to women. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as an ideal sannyasi, uh, was was not interested in mixing with personalities who were too absorbed in material activities. So even though King Prataprudra was a Vaishnava, Lord Chaitanya, just to teach us, uh, he was very very particular about this, and he would not associate. Lord Chaitanya, as an ideal sannyasi, would not associate. These are all lessons for those who have either taken sannyas or those who are desiring to take sannyas. If sannyasis get into trouble, the entire Vaishnava community gets shaken. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in order to minimize and prevent such great irregularities in the Vaishnava community, demonstrated the life of an ideal sannyasi. No woman could approach the Lord even to offer respects. Women's seats were accommodated far away from the Lord. This is by Lord Chaitanya's own arrangement. Uh, as an ideal teacher and acharya, he was very strict in the routine work of a sannyasi. Apart from being a divine incarnation, the Lord was an ideal character as a human being. His behavior with other persons was also above suspicion. Notice this, above suspicion, above suspicion, beyond suspicion. Caesar's wife should be beyond suspicion. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he demonstrated this, just as Lord Ram demonstrated how to be a Kshatriya. Similarly, Lord Chaitanya demonstrated how to be a sannyasi. So his behavior was beyond suspicion. In his dealing as Acharya, he was harder than the thunderbolt and softer than the rose. One of his associates, Junior Haridas, committed a great mistake by lustfully glancing at a young woman. The Lord, as Super Soul, could detect this lust in the mind of Junior Haridas, who was at once banished from the Lord's association and was never accepted again, even though the Lord was implored to excuse Haridas for the mistake. Junior Haridas afterwards committed suicide due to being disassociated from the company of the Lord, and the news of his suicide was duly related to the Lord. Even at that time, the Lord was not forgetful of the offense, and he said that Haridas had rightly met with the proper punishment. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prabhupada often mentioned, was very, very strict about the rules and regulations of the sannyas ashrama. And he did not like hypocrisy, he did not like cheating. On the other hand, Srila Prabhupada also pointed out that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not have any problems with householder Vaishnavas who engaged in sexual activity for Vaishnava progeny. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had no problem with that. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not discriminate between the ashramas, and at the same time, he simply wanted the Vaishnavas to exhibit non-duplicitous religious behavior. He simply could not tolerate duplicity, and he could not tolerate sinful activities. Lord Chaitanya exhibited the pastime of having no tolerance for adharma, both in the case of Chota Haridas as a sannyasi, as well as one Gopinath Patanayak, who was none other than a brother of Ramananda Rai, because he had engaged in an activity of financial irregularity in King Prataprudra's government. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was extremely strict on him, extremely strict on him. And he, practically speaking, punished him almost like he punished Chota Haridas, even though this time um, uh, he also manifested some more extroverted compassion, considering that so many Vaishnavas had begged him to forgive.